Hello, I'm Jacob and you're watching The Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. The knife that you see is the Anza Swat with infinity handles. I'd like you to think of this video as a tabletop review, except it's going to be a boot top review today because I'm at work and we're getting rained out, so I've got a little bit extra time. And this is just what I'm going to do with it. I'll put the specs of the knife up on the screen right now. Now, I've been reviewing a few of these Anza knives. I've got 4 of them, and I really like them. And this knife in particular has been used so much that although this is my first video on it, I don't know if I should call this an initial review. You'll probably be able to see, hopefully if my camera does its thing, that this edge has a lot of scratches on it from sharpening and this and that and the other thing. That's not a roll there. I don't know what that is. It showed up on camera. Huh. Weird. But I've used this knife quite a bit, so I don't want to call this an initial impressions review. It's really, this could be a full review, and throughout this video I will post pictures of the knife's use, and later I will do a long-term review. Before I get any further, this video and this channel is not funded through any kind of AdSense or YouTube. It's funded through sales at my website, beachandtactical.com, through my Patreon, and through my Amazon store. So those links will be in the description box below. So first off, let's talk about the blade. You've got a little bit of file work on the back here, and you've really got a fairly aggressive profile with a false wedge. The knife is very hollow ground. Alright, these are handmade, completely handmade in California, and you know, I had my concerns as a knife guy about the very thin edges and the hollow grinds. These are made from a file, if you didn't already notice, and Anza knives kind of started that trend. What I'll say about the thin hollow ground edge is that when it's new, all of these knives are sold with very thin edges, and they're basically, the edge geometry is basically designed for skinning. And so when I was using it for some other tasks, I would get small rolls. Never chips, but I would get small rolls. And they sharpened out incredibly easy. I'm not a good sharpener, guys. I'm not, I don't have any professional system or anything like that. I've got a stone, I've got a strop, and I've got a ceramic V-rod set from Idaho. And I was able to get any rolls out of this thing with no difficulty and get it back to razor sharp easily. And once I did that a couple times, the edge has actually been very tough while remaining just incredibly slicey. So this, I guess you could call it a micro bevel, but it's much larger, is high, it's convex, and it is so thin. And this knife just absolutely performs. And I've batoned with it, and I've done all kinds of stuff with it. I've had no issues with the hollow grind. What I will say, you've got a pretty thick stock, a very thin edge, and a pretty dramatic hollow grind. And when you're slicing through something deep, not skinning or something like that, but say cutting cardboard or slicing through potatoes, which I've done, you start to get a lot of resistance when you slice through something further right here. And when I say a lot of resistance, that's probably not the right term, but you definitely have more resistance. But cutting up until that point, you have no resistance. I mean, it's really incredible. So as far as the blade geometry and the edge geometry, this blade is absolutely a slicing, dicing machine. And as much as I had my worries about its strength, At this point, I really don't. I think that this thing is very solid for what it is. Now, if it were my survival knife, I would be cautious. I would not be prying with this knife, and that is not what it's designed for with this thumb swedge, which we'll talk about more when I talk about the handles, and with the hollow grind. But man, for being used as a knife, it's just great. It's great. That's all there is to it. Another concern of mine was the infinity handles. I've never seen a handle with this profile. It's very unique, and I was like, I don't know if that's going to be comfortable. And it is. I love everything about this. I love the thumb swedge. It's like my middle fingers kind of fit right in there and lock this knife into my hand. Very secure. If there's one thing that I can say about Anza knives, having experience with quite a few of them, the handles all look unique, and they look very simple. They're not complicated, and they're not eye-catching, but every Anza knife that I've ever held melts right into your hand. Anza does everything different than anybody else, and it's just good. As you can already tell, you know, the micro bevel is not the same height all the way across. Everything's done by hand, but the edge is perfectly straight. So people will look at the fit and the finish and the weird shape of it, and some people will write Anza off. They're doing themselves a disfavor because these knives perform so well. So the whole thing is just designed to just melt into your hands. I am honestly surprised at how much I love it with such an interesting profile. And then the sheath that you get. You have to be a little bit careful because these knives are so slicey, they will annihilate one of these sheaths. I could take this knife and cut through this sheath without a second thought at all. And so one of my first knives in my foray into knives was an Anza knife. I was carrying it in the military, but I had the sheath kind of on the front of my leg. And when I bent over with my body armor pushed on the bottom of the handle, pushed the knife down through the sheath and into my thigh. And I decided from then on that I hated leather sheaths. Well, I definitely wear this sheath on my side now, but I don't have so many issues. I actually like it pretty decent, especially with a castrum dangler on it. But for the price of the knives, really the sheath is a freebie, and I think personally that Anza knives deserve a good custom Kydex sheath when you can get to that point because the knives are so good. I think any really good knife, even if it comes with a decent Kydex sheath, if you really love it, I think deserves a good custom Kydex or leather sheath. So all in all, what am I here to say? This Anza Swat knife is absolutely unique. If you need a belt knife, this could certainly be the knife for you. If you already have 100 or 1,000 knives and you don't have an Anza, then you don't have a knife that's like this one. You don't have a knife that feels like this one, or performs like this one, or looks like this one. It is unique and it's good. I thought that I would like the other designs better than this one, and yet I absolutely love this one. It's probably my most used Anza at this point. So, that's all I've really got. When I do my full review, it'll be a full woods review, but I'd really like to do something kind of wild with this knife before I actually do a full review on it. Anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to the Anza Knives website in the description box below. They do also have a Facebook, an Instagram, and and a Facebook group called Anza Addiction. Excuse me. I'll put some of those links in the description box below. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to talking to you in the comment section below. I hope that you have a blessed day.